Hey guys, Jeff here at Zip Hearing. We are the place to buy hearing aids online with local service included. And today I want to talk about styles of hearing aids. From the smallest in-the-ear devices to the largest and most powerful behind-the-ear devices. So I'm going to go over each style and we'll start from the smallest first. I'll show you how they look in my ear and go over some of the pros and cons. But first, check out this image for a quick overview of all the styles. You'll notice an acronym under each product, like CIC, for example, which stands for Completely-in-canal. Every style has its own 3-letter acronym used to describe it, and you're gonna see these all over the place when researching hearing aids, so get familiar with them. All right, so first up, you probably won't even be able to see it in my ear. That is the point, is the IIC style, or invisible-in-canal. Let's do a little test. In one of my ears, I have an IIC hearing aid. Let's see if you can tell which one. It's in my right ear. Could you tell? Let me know in the comments. So here's the IIC hearing aid. You've got the battery door here, the microphone right next to it that collects the sound. You've got the receiver or speaker where the sound comes out, and then the pull string, which is used to pull the device out of your ear. Let me show you this hearing aid in my ear again. I want to push it all the way down inside. It should be about right. And then I'm just gonna grab onto the little pull string to pull it out. So for the pros, the main reason people buy these is they are as invisible as you can get. You know, nothing behind the ear, everything sits deep inside the ear canal. Because everything sits so deep in the ear, you won't get as much of the occlusion effect when you wear these hearing aids. I'll put a link below about the occlusion effect, but basically, when you wear IICs, you don't feel as plugged up as compared to when you wear other in-the-ear devices. Another benefit of them being so deep is that the microphones on the hearing aids are protected from the wind, so the microphone doesn't pick up a lot of wind noise. And then finally, because they sit so close to your eardrum, they use less power than other devices and are then less likely to feedback and whistle. Now, before you think IICs are the way to go, there are some pretty big downsides. The first is because they are so small, they use the smallest batteries, and those are only gonna last you 2 to 5 days, so you're changing batteries a lot. And then again, because of the size, you have to have great dexterity to change the batteries and maintain these units. These are small parts. You're also making a trade-off when you get this style because the small size can't house all the latest technology. For example, you're not going to be able to get Bluetooth in an IIC hearing aid, and it's not going to have directional microphones to help you hear better in background noise. There's just not enough room in this tiny hearing aid. Personally, the biggest disadvantage that I see with IIC hearing aids is they break a lot. They sit in a warm, oily environment all day, deep in your ear, so they're really prone to breakdown much more than other styles. And finally, a lot of people that want an IIC just can't get it because they're not powerful enough. They're so small that they just can't provide the power that larger hearing aids can. Next up is the CIC Completely-in-canal style. Now for a long time, this was considered the most invisible hearing aid until the IIC style came out about 10 years ago. So very similar in appearance to an IIC, just a little bit larger. You've got the battery door here, microphone here, receiver or speaker here, and then the pull string to help you get it out. I'll show you what it looks like in my ear. We'll push it all the way in. And then just like an IIC, we'll grab onto the little pull string to pull it out. For the pros, it's still a relatively discreet hearing aid, and they're a little easier to maintain than IICs because they're a little bigger. CICs fit a larger amount of ears, whereas a lot of ear canals are too narrow to hold an IIC hearing aid. Pretty much everyone that wants CIC hearing aids can wear them, as long as their hearing loss warrants it. There is one new style of CIC called the Instant Fit CIC, and what makes it different than a traditional CIC is it's not custom built. It's available off the shelf. Let me show you this style next to a custom CIC. So this is the Instant Fit CIC, and this is the custom CIC built for my ear. So you can see they're about the same size, and in just a minute we'll put them in my ear and then do a side-by-side comparison. So first we'll put in the Instant Fit CIC. Let me get it in there nice and far. Okay. Now we'll put in the custom CIC. And let's see if we can do a side-by-side comparison. So cosmetically, not a huge difference. The black faceplate on the Instant Fit CIC is definitely serving to hide the unit a little better because it blends in with the shadow of my ear canal. The Instant Fit CIC can be fit quicker, you don't have to wait for it to be built, it can be more comfortable and reduce occlusion because it fits more loosely in the ear canal and can sometimes be more discreet than a custom built CIC and actually end up looking like an IIC in the ear canal. If you're interested in CICs, I highly recommend checking out the Instant Fit CIC style, and I did a video on the most popular Instant Fit CIC on the market. It's called Signia Silk. It's the one you just saw in my ear, and I'll put a link in the description below. As for the cons with CICs, there's a bunch of them. With CIC hearing aids, you get all the cons that were just shown for the IIC style, plus another which is increased occlusion. So wearers of CIC hearing aids often complain that they feel like they're talking in a barrel. So you get all the cons and more of the IIC and lose the benefit of it being completely invisible that the IIC offers. The only thing you're gaining is it's easier to use because it's bigger. So overall, I'm not a huge fan of CICs, or at least of custom CICs. Next up is the ITC in the canal style. This is sometimes called a half shell because this style takes up just about half of the bowl in the ear. So again, just like the CIC and IIC, you have the battery door here. Let's see, microphone, speaker. On this one, you have a little volume control wheel. And this one doesn't have a pull string, but it does have a little notch that you can grab onto with your fingernail to help you pull it out, or you can add a pull string to it. And for the first pro of this hearing aid, because it's larger, there's usually room on the hearing aid for a push button or volume control like the one I just showed you, giving you more control over the hearing aid compared to CICs and IICs. Another pro of the larger size is they're easier to handle than IICs and CICs. They usually take a larger battery, so you get better battery life. And then because they're larger, they usually have room for features like directional microphones and sometimes even Bluetooth. For the cons, just like all the in-the-ear devices, they are more prone to breakdown. You can't escape that. And then again, because this style doesn't fit quite as deep as the CIC or IIC, the microphone is a little more exposed. So sometimes when wind blows over the ear, you'll hear like a wind noise. It's kind of annoying. So those are the biggest cons in my opinion, but overall I do like this style. I think it's a good compromise between small size while still getting good battery life. They're easier to use and they're not huge hearing aids. They're still pretty discreet. Finally is the largest of the in-the-ear styles, the ITE, also sometimes called a full shell because it takes up the full bowl of the ear. Just like all the other custom models, you have the battery door here, microphone here, speaker back here where the sound comes out, and then again on this one you have a volume control. You have another notch to help you pull it out. You can just grab onto it with your fingernail, and then you can add a pull string to it as well if you'd like. For the pros, this is, in my opinion, the easiest hearing aid to wear. Because it's so large and custom molded, it really contours to your ear perfectly, and a lot of ears just kind of pops into place real nicely. It's nice because you don't even have to look at the hearing aid when you're putting it in. It's so large that you can just kind of feel around and pop the hearing aid into place. A couple other benefits to being larger: they use bigger batteries and get great battery life. These should last you a week or more, sometimes 2 weeks. They're large enough for push buttons and volume controls on them, and they usually have room for technology like directional microphones and Bluetooth. For the cons, well, maybe it's a con, I don't know. You can't really hide this hearing aid. It's big. It's also, like the ITC style, exposed to more wind noise, and like all custom models, more prone to breakdown. And finally, one more con, which applies to all of these custom devices, is I usually see them priced higher than behind the ear devices. These devices are custom made, so no provider can buy them in bulk and save, which would lower the price. And custom fittings always take more time. It's a longer and more involved fitting process for a hearing care provider. So I see custom devices priced higher across the board nationwide. Now, so far, I've only talked about custom hearing aid styles. These are styles that are custom built to your ear canal and they fit inside the ear. I'm gonna switch now away from custom styles into the styles that sit behind the ear, also known as standard styles. First up is the RIC or Receiver-in-canal style. And if you were to take every other style discussed in this video, add up all our sales for those styles, they wouldn't even come close to reaching the amount of sales we do of RIC hearing aids. So RIC hearing aids are the most popular style of hearing aid by a long shot and for a lot of reasons. Let me get you a close-up. So you have the battery door here. Got the microphone here, push buttons that let you control the volume or other settings. This is called the receiver wire, and then this is the speaker, which sits inside the ear with a little rubber dome over it. Let me put this one in my ear. So when it's all the way in, this wire right here will be flush with my ear. There should be no spaces, and it really makes for a discreet fitting. For the pros, the first thing you'll notice compared to the custom devices is when RIC hearing aids are worn with just a little silicone dome, your ear canal is, for the most part, left alone. There's nothing plugging it up, so things sound more natural and they feel very comfortable. You will completely forget that you're wearing this style of hearing aid. One thing nice about RIC hearing aids is you can start wearing them open fit, meaning with just a dome, but if your hearing gets worse over time, you can add a custom ear mold to it later and it'll be more powerful, way more powerful. So they have a very wide fitting range. It's a super discreet look. The tiny wire that goes along and into your ear is clear and hides real well, and then the hearing aid behind the ear can match your hair color pretty closely. Our customers that order RICs are always surprised that no one notices they're even wearing them. Because these are outside of the ear, they can fit more components and will always have the latest technology. If you look at any particular hearing aid from a manufacturer and ask, what is your best hearing aid? It's always one of their RIC hearing aids because there's no compromise when you wear a RIC hearing aid. You get excellent background noise reduction, Bluetooth, they can be rechargeable if you want. There's a lot to like about RICs, and that's why it's the most popular style. There's very little downside to getting a RIC hearing aid. Honestly, the only thing I can think of is the weakest link on this hearing aid is the receiver wire. They tend to get brittle and crack after a few years, so that'll have to be replaced, but it's easy. A lot of our customers can even do it themselves at home. And finally, the largest and most powerful of all styles is the BTE for behind the ear. Now you might say that looks a lot like the RIC style. What makes it different? Well, remember how with the RIC hearing aid, the speaker went inside the ear canal? A BTE is different. Let me show you. On a BTE, both the microphone and the receiver or speaker sit behind the ear encased in the hearing aid. And this leads me to the first advantage of a BTE hearing aid. Because everything is housed behind the ear and protected from your moist inner ear, these hearing aids tend to break down less. They require very little maintenance. They are kind of the workhorses of hearing aids. When used with a custom ear mold, these are the most powerful hearing aids available, so that's a huge benefit. They can use rechargeable batteries just like RICs, and when used with an ear mold, they are very easy to put on and take off. Just like a full shell ITE hearing aid that I showed you earlier, they kind of pop right into place and you can just hang the hearing aid behind the ear. And finally, just like with RIC hearing aids, BTEs have a very wide fitting range. You can wear this with just a little silicone dome if you have a mild to moderate hearing loss, or you can get a custom ear mold made if you have a severe to profound hearing loss and need more power. The only cons for BTE hearing aids, in my opinion, is the tubing gets a little brittle over time. A lot of people have to change their tubes a few times a year, but that's another thing you can probably do at home. And then BTEs are not a very discreet style if that's important to you. And that covers all the traditional styles of hearing aids. There are a few more that I didn't mention because they're pretty rare, but if you're interested in a hearing aid from a major manufacturer, I'm 99% sure you're gonna end up with one of the styles in this video. And that's a wrap for this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to post a comment below. I usually answer comments within 24 hours, and if you're ready to set up a trial period with a Zip hearing provider near you, just click the link in the description and we'll be in touch with you shortly. And if you like this video, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you're alerted when there's a new video, and I'll see you on the next one.